Verstappen's future in Red Bull has been brought to question, with the four-time world champion likely to activate his clause if he's below third in the Drivers' Championship around the summer break. Despite the denials coming from both Max and Horner, the sensitivity of this matter allows us to analyse it a bit deeper and witness how shocking of a move we can witness before the newly regulated era starts. With Russell and Horner holding informational talks regarding the awareness around them, could we see a massive shifting in the F1's landscape sooner rather than later? There's one very hot topic in the world of Formula 1 right now, and that is the relationship between Max and Red Bull. The RB21 turned out to be a very difficult beast to handle, and the Dutchman knows that if he continues with the new era, then he might be looking for a new team sooner rather than later. Yes, both he and Horner shut down the allegations that came alive during the Jeddah Grand Prix. However, I think we need to be aware that situations like this are not going to be commented on publicly. Toto Wolff has been an admirer of Verstappen's services for a long period, and even though he expressed his full faith in the current lineup of Mercedes, we can't turn a blind eye to the fact that he's been flirting with the idea of signing Max for a very long time. There's one argument that he can use heavily on his side: the engine regulations from 2026 onwards. Mercedes are tipped to be the leaders in that regard along with Ferrari, and with Red Bull being one of the teams that are pushing the agenda of delaying the new regulation cycle, I think we can get a full grasp on why Verstappen might be unhappy with what's currently going on with the inner circles in the team. Christian Horner has been quick to dismiss any talks regarding the future of Verstappen beyond Red Bull, and when talking about it to a greater extent, the team principal of Red Bull said, "There's been a lot of noise outside of the team, inside of the team as well. I think Max again reaffirmed his commitment yesterday. We're focused on making the car go faster. That is where our focus is, and Max is part of that. He's a committed member of the team, and the rest is all speculation and hearsay. Sort the car out, it doesn't need to become a discussion point." Max is a very loyal driver, and nobody disputes the fact that he's committed to Red Bull. However, there comes a certain point where you have to ask yourself, is my effort appreciated? The development of the car is under a huge question mark, and Verstappen should be aware that the future of Red Bull is practically in his hands. He's the one who is extracting the most performance out of the car, and if it's not for the four-time world champion's performance, then we're going to see Red Bull in the midfield. Toto Wolff is also a key figure here because the Austrian, although admitting that the future lies within his current lineup, is well aware that once Verstappen becomes available, it might be too hard for him to ignore the services of such a driver. If Max can be in the competition with the fourth fastest car on the grid and win a championship with the third fastest one, then imagine if the new regulation cycle turns heavily into Mercedes' favour. It wouldn't even have to be that big of a difference between them and Ferrari or Honda, for example. They would just need a car with a bit of a wider operating window than Red Bull. When talking about the future of Mercedes, Wolff gave a clear timeline as to when this question is going to be answered, as he added, "We didn't have any conversations with Russell. At the moment, where it is with George and Kimi, there is no doubt to question that setup for the future as it goes. We will pick those talks up once we're in the European season. There's no stress. Russell is performing to the highest levels, as we've hoped and expected. He is delivering, there's no doubt about that. There is not more you would demand from that. We have this summer window, we have no reason to challenge or question anything as it is now." While on the other hand, the summer period is when Verstappen's question will draw the attention of the media again. The veteran Austrian Helmut Marko went on to say that if the team does not deliver the needed performance by the summer break, we are going to see a lot of talks regarding the future of Max, most likely in a negative manner. There's a clause in his contract which states that Verstappen can leave the team if he's below the third place in the Drivers' Championship, and that's now something Red Bull cannot guarantee. From session to session, from race to race, the form of the Austrian team is changing a lot. Therefore, Red Bull needs to be aware that a post-Verstappen era is a reality that could hit them sooner rather than later. So, with all of this in mind, Horner's actions are not to be judged. Having a talk with Russell and discussing the scenarios that are out of their hands are not something that should be seen as false move by the team principal of Red Bull. Whether we like it or not, he needs to think about his team, and this narrative of a one-man squad needs to end sooner rather than later. Paradoxically enough, it's this exact narrative that's keeping Red Bull relevant at the moment, and this is precisely why we need to be very aware of the staff that is about to emerge in the foreseeable future. Another pundit who is worried about Russell's future in Mercedes if Verstappen was to become available on the market is Martin Brundle, Expressing his fears for Russell, Martin went on to say, "I think if Max Verstappen sprung into the marketplace, I'd be quite worried for George actually, because Kimi is obviously their man for the future, so there's a lot of ifs in there. George is doing a great job for him as a team leader, but Toto missed Max once. I don't think that he'll miss him a second time should he get the opportunity." But then again, the threat for Verstappen is not coming from Mercedes only. We cannot turn a blind eye to what Aston Martin are offering. The Silverstone-based squad have a state-of-the-art wind tunnel that's set to shock the entire grid with its functionality. And on top of that, they appointed Newey to a full-time job of the 2026 car. The availability of Honda is also there, and these two sides are what made Red Bull and Verstappen's success possible in the first place. Honda holds a very high opinion for Verstappen, and when talking about the potential reunion in the foreseeable future, the president of the company, Koji Watanabe, said that Honda will definitely have a say in the driver's lineup, just like they did with Red Bull. Furthermore, he said, "The number of seats will be reduced. However, as for us, we will continue to voice our opinions as Honda in deciding the drivers for the 2026 lineup and beyond. Obviously, the team has a final say in deciding which drivers join them, but the situation will be the same as with Red Bull, where we will have our say." Even Fernando Alonso has gone on to say that he would be very happy if Verstappen joins the team, which is now not that far-fetched of a scenario considering the fact that the team offered $300 million over the course of 3 years. This is a sum that will help Verstappen to steer in the right direction, and although he will likely humiliate Stroll as his teammate, this doesn't really matter to Aston Martin at all. They're willing to win the Drivers' Championship at all costs, which is why Newey has not been working on solutions for the 2025 car at all. On the other hand, Alonso's comments said it out loud and clear. The fact that Verstappen is somehow related to the team goes to show how big ambitions they have headed into the new era. Elaborating further on these rumors, Alonso said, "I see them as being very good for the team. The world champion is sometimes linked with some other teams and a possible departure from Red Bull, and the teams that they're commenting on are Mercedes, Aston Martin and Ferrari. So this shows the project that we're in and the future that this team has. Therefore, it's up to Red Bull to lose Verstappen in this epic war that we're going to have in front of us. But whether or not the Imola upgrades are going to be enough to catch up with McLaren, time will tell. Even though Verstappen is making all of the difference, he cannot always be at the top of his game, and one mistake can cost him enough to be out of the championship fight very early in the season. This is not 2024, when there were multiple drivers taking points away from each other. It's him against both McLarens now, and he might want to change that directive headed into the new regulations. With all of this in mind, do you think that Russell is the driver who will replace Max in Red Bull? And more importantly, do you think that there's a situation in which these two drivers are going to swap seats? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.